episode of Coming Up Milhouse. Today we are talking about Season 4, Episode 2. It's called A Streetcar Named Marge.
That's right, and the title refers to the plot where Marge goes and auditions for a play, but it's not just any play, it is a musical rendition of A Streetcar Named Desire. But unfortunately, Homer is not very supportive of this action. He doesn't get it, he doesn't think it's important, and that rubs Marge the wrong way a little bit, and we're going to have to find out if Homer learns a lesson or if he doesn't. Let's start things off with our first segment, and that is our favorite line. So what's your favorite line?
Brought to you by Meryl Streep's versatility. Smell like Streep for cheap. And that was at the beginning of the episode where Homer and the kids are watching a Miss America pageant, and that was one of the sponsors for the show, and it just is too hilarious to me. So all of the pageant gals are dressed as their favorite state, and that just cracks me up. Like South Dakota is Mount Rushmore, so her face is one of the faces, and then it's a big cutout of the rest of the president's heads, and it's just really clever. And that was one of the sponsors. And the bottle of perfume is in the Oscar statue, and you have to unscrew the head in order to get the perfume out.
Very clever. All right, well, my first line is, "If you like that, you should see my butt."
I knew you were going to go with an auto line.
Yeah, so when they're auditioning for Streetcar Named Desire, the director, who's voiced by John Lovitz, by the way, is really good. He tells all the men that are auditioning for the Stanley part to take off their shirts, because apparently you got to be buff to do that.
Right.
And he's going down the line, and he's like, no, and there's Wiggum. He's like, got his gut hanging out. And then he gets the Otto, and he's got this tattoo of a monster truck with a skull. It's like gangly, crazy-looking tattoo. And he's like, "My lord, what is that?" And that was Otto's reply. "If you like that, you should see my butt."
And Otto's completely oblivious that the director really doesn't like the tattoo. He thinks he loves it. But anyway, makes me a little curious about Otto's other tattoos.
Exactly. You can only imagine. You can only imagine. All right, what about line 2?
Line 2. When a baby is reaching for a bottle, do you know what she is saying? "I'm a leech." And that was from the Ayn Rand School for Toddlers that Marge takes Maggie. It is run by Ms. Sinclair, a cousin of the director of the Streetcar musical, and it's, she's basing this on a lot of Ayn Rand's
a little dystopian in that school, I think, in that daycare.
And at one point she's reading The Fountainhead Diet, which is a reference to Ayn Rand, and it just is really funny, but that was her line. So she didn't believe in bottles, and she didn't believe in pacifiers. And what about you?
All right, so my line number 2 is, "I'm living in a cuckoo clock." So at dinner, Marge gets the part of Blanche DuBois, and so at dinner she starts speaking in a southern accent, and then Homer's like, "What?" And then Lisa's like, "Will it help if I speak in a southern accent?" "Well, it might." And then Bart's like, starts doing a Cockney British.
Yep.
He's like, "Well, I speak like this, governor." And Homer's like, doesn't know what's going on, and he's like, "I'm living in a cuckoo clock." Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That was good. Mm-hmm. All right, so that takes us to our next segment, which we call scenes. That's our favorite scene. You want to take us off?
You start with your favorite scene.
You want me to do my scene?
Yep.
All right, I will do my scene. I'm actually going to subvert your expectations. I think the scene, the actual musical itself, is a great scene, because it occurred to me watching this, they must have hired an actual musician and songwriters to make a string of actually pretty catchy musical songs. They were jokey. They, the lyrics were silly.
Sure.
But the songs were you almost would think that this is a musical that exists somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of impressed with that production value. They actually were we're going to do this episode about a musical. Let's go
Let's
all out.
give
So
them
they
a
had
musical.
a number about New Orleans, which was hilarious if you listen to the lyrics. Then, like, Apu's doing a newsboy in a sad, somber song. Then Ned's being Stanley, and he's singing, like, this big song. And then they have, like, this catchy rejoinder at the end about the kindness of strangers,
The stranger's just a friend you haven't met yet.
Exactly. And I would probably watch that if it was an actual show.
Longer than the
Than the
10
10
minutes
minute
that
segment.
we just watched.
So, there you go. The musical was actually pretty good.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with the scene that I thought you were going to go with. And Maggie in the daycare really cracked me up.
That's
And
amazing.
they took the pacifiers away from all of the babies and locked them up. And so Maggie's in the daycare, and there are a couple different segments similar. But the last one I'll go with, which is very similar. So it's basically a parody of the Great Escape movie with Steve McQueen, and Maggie is trying to break the pacifiers out so all of the babies are happier, and so she succeeds. And then my favorite part of it is that all of the babies have their pacifiers and they're just sitting in silence, and Homer comes to pick Maggie up, and it's like a parody of the movie The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock. And he just sneaks in and grabs Maggie and then backs slowly and pushes Bart and Lisa out with him and backs slowly. And then there's a cartoon cameo of Alfred Hitchcock. So that's where I'm going with my scene.
I mean, honestly, I almost went that, but I was like, Gail's probably going to do some form of that. So I'm going to go with the musical, but it is brilliant. You have the music to The Great Escape. Then you have the parody of The Birds.
Yeah.
Then you actually get the Hitchcock cameo.
Right.
I mean, that was amazing. That was really
You
well done.
can't lose.
No.
If you're fans of those things in this episode, you can't lose.
Not at all.
My backup plan was to go with the ending number of the Streetcar, because that song is really catchy. The
Exactly.
stranger's just a friend you haven't met yet. It's just worth the watch just for that song,
It's good.
which might be stuck in my head all day.
It probably, exactly. It probably will be. Okay, so our next segment is our winners and losers. How would you like to do that?
What do you want to go with? Winner or loser?
Let's start with loser.
Okay, go for your loser.
My loser is Ned, because Ned gets the part of Stanley, right? But they're rehearsing just Marge and Ned, because there's this like scene that's so intense that Marge needs to break a bottle and go after Stanley because he wronged her, or however the story goes. And Marge just isn't getting it. And then Homer comes around and he wants to go and he's honking his horn and he's annoying her, and that's the push Marge needs to really go for the scene. But she cuts Ned up.
Right.
And he can't even overpower her to get her to stop. She's so enraged, and the director's like, yes, that's the fire I want. But it doesn't matter because, and then they cut, and there's Ned with a bloody bandage on his chest in the next scene because she totally cut him. So I'm like, Ned,
Poor
you got
Ned.
the point. You got the part, but he certainly got the point.
He suffered through, right.
All right, what do you got?
My loser is New Orleans because of the song.
They did not paint New Orleans
No,
very nicely.
they called them the Sodom and Gomorrah of Mississippi. Of the Mississippi, I think is probably what they said about the river. But they do not have anything nice to say about New Orleans, to the point where when I was looking something up, there's a little bit of trivia that the state of Louisiana got very, very, very angry. And they were very upset that they made fun of New Orleans and demanded that they never air this episode again.
Wow. Yeah, I would not put this on the tourism brochure if I were part of the tourism of New Orleans.
Right.
You're not selling going there, I guess,
Right.
if you're watching.
So there was apparently a lawsuit involved with that,
Wow.
and it was pretty interesting. So based on one song that you hear for
But here
about
for 2 minutes.
4 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. It's not very long.
No.
So I guess going back to my scene where I said, hey, I'd go watch that show. They're probably not going to do that show anytime soon.
Not with that musical number in it, at least.
Very good. Well, what about winner? You want to go with your winner?
Llewellyn Sinclair, because he's voiced by John Lovitz, as we mentioned, and he got Marge to act. You know,
did.
He was pushing her and trying to encourage her to act, and then here comes Homer, and he really didn't have to encourage her much, but he got Marge in this amazing role, and the play was very successful based on his directing skills and the fact that he cast Marge for her role in this. So he's my winner of the episode.
Yeah, he was smart enough to cast Marge, and you can tell he had the passion because one of his lines was like, "I've had 3 heart attacks in my life, and I've directed 3 plays. I'm planning on having a 4th because this was going to be the 4th play." He's very passionate about theater.
But you know what? One of those plays was a 2nd grade class play. So.
Yeah. He reduced the children to tears or something like
That's
that.
too funny.
Very good. I like it. Well, my winner goes back to your scene, and it is Maggie. Because she totally got her pacifier back like a boss. Okay, she was like pulling out all the stops. She got all them babies in line to like give her clues. Use the crusty doll as like a grappling hook, and went up it and climbed through
Mission Impossible style.
climbing through air ducts and sliding down a rope with a curtain hanger, and oh man, Maggie was so cool in that scene. That she is most definitely my winner of the week.
I would agree.
All right. Great. Very cool. Well, that is A Streetcar Named Marge.
So again, that's season 4, episode 2, and we have started a new season, as you can see by the fact that I'm wearing a new season shirt, and it's called The Avocados, and it has the Simpson family designed in avocado form, so bringing 2 of my favorite things together here. And as always, if you like this show and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click the subscribe button below the screen, and feel free to make comments in the comment section below. We love your support, and we appreciate you watching this in the bathtub or on the couch or wherever you're comfortable.
Yeah. Thanks again for watching. As always, we really appreciate it. We'll be coming back at you next week, and until then, Jiminy Jillikers.